Hey there. Hope you're all doing well this evening. I am coming to you live to talk a little bit about how our academic jobs should feel. So, one of the things I think is really important that we're not talking about in academia is how to make a change in the culture of academia that makes it so that our everyday lives as academics feel better. Because here is the reality. The reality is that most of us are overworked, most of us are overwhelmed, most of us don't get to our writing because we have like a legitimate problem figuring out how to manage urgent and important tasks. And all of this ends up feeling really, really awful. The idea of imposter syndrome, right? Like this is something that we talk about in academia a lot, this feeling like we're not good enough, that someone's going to figure out that we just got lucky in getting accepted to our PhD programs. We just got lucky, right? Graduating from the PhD programs and getting the tenure track job. And we're just really like faking it and nobody is going, and somebody's going to call us out soon. Well, actually, academia sets you up for those feelings of imposter syndrome. And here's how it does it. First of all, it tells you the culture of academia sends you the message that you're not allowed to ask for help, that the worst thing that you can possibly do is look dumb in front of other people, and that, if you don't know how to do something, you might appear dumb. And so nobody wants to look like that. And so there's this big kind of like wall up against asking for help. Or just even like saying like, oh, hey, how do you do this thing, right? A lot of times we have resistance to that because we are told or we get messages from the culture of academia that say that we're not supposed to like not know what we're doing. But truthfully, like academia does not prepare us, like our PhD program, our doctoral program does not actually prepare us for the job that we do as a professor. So, and then most other jobs would have some sort of, on the job training for you to learn how to do the job, but that's not true in academia. Sometimes there's professional development. It varies a lot it varies a lot. So some people get a lot of professional development. Some people get very little. Some of it is better than others. All of this to say that we are set up to feel like imposters. And actually, you're not. Actually, you are where you are meant to be. You have a message to tell the world. You have a contribution to make. And it shouldn't feel so much like a slog every day. So one of the things that I think is most stressful for academics is going up for tenure, right? And the whole process pre-tenure, which is, cloaked in mystery in terms of how many publications you need to have, in what journals, and many other requirements for tenure, are really like literally a moving target. And they're a moving target because in many institutions, like lots of institutions and people that I've been talking to recently have been talking about the fact that their institutions are like aspiring to change levels, right? So that they are maybe, they're an R3 and they want to be an R2. Or whatever. So what's happening, or they're a teaching institution, they want to become a research institution. So what happens is you have people who came into the same job that you got hired for 10 years ago or 15 years ago and went through the tenure and promotion process under a completely different set of rules. And you have entered the same department that they are in with, having more publications than they had you have more publications upon entering than they had when they went up for tenure. And so the scale is sliding around and it's not objective, it's not clear cut. And many institutions don't even know what their own tenure requirements are. They're not clear and articulated. In 90% of the cases, when I talk to academic women and I ask them, is it clear to you what you need to do in order to get tenure? They say, no, it's not clear. My university doesn't have a list of things that I can check off. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't articulate those things to me in any clear way. And they're changing. They may change every year, in fact, especially if you're in an institution that's aspiring or that's in transition. So, it's very stressful. And so I guess what I wanted to say about that is that I did a webinar on Monday. It was called Write Your Way to Tenure. About 250 people signed up for the webinar. And during that webinar, I asked people, like, how do you want your pre-tenure prep process to feel? And I asked them, what would it mean to you to get tenure? So I wanted to say a little bit about like what people were saying when they, about what it would mean for them to get tenure. So somebody said a feeling of security. Somebody said stability for my family. Somebody said being able to continue my research without fear of losing my job. Somebody said it means I could stay here. Okay. So those are really, really important results of getting tenure, right? And nobody said because I would get a pay raise that would make it easier for my family to meet our monthly obligations, or I would get the recognition of my hard work. Nobody even said those things, right? Those are also true, and those are also results of tenure, right? But everybody kind of said things like, it's like a deep satisfaction and security that you would get if you go up and are successful going up for tenure. So then I asked, what do you want your tenure prep to feel like? And Allison said, productive, but not frenzied. And Samantha said, steady incremental progress, not stress. Seema said, less anxious. Karen said, a good challenge that motivates me, but doesn't push me out. And then Allison said, like I'm in the driver's seat. And Betsy said, like working on a series of interesting projects, not opening a vein. So again, like there's this real desire to have tenure prep feel different, okay? To have it feel like, like a natural or, a fulfilling and enriching process of growth rather than hazing, right? So if we look to institutions to provide us that fulfilling process of growth in our careers, I'm sad to say that I think we'll be disappointed. It's a rare institution that sees the tenure process from the perspective of the scholar. Institutions are institutions, and they have their own interests, and they are not people, right? Even though I'm personifying them right now as I talk about them, but they have their own interests, and they are self-perpetuating, and they need to do certain things and value certain things in order to stay, in their minds, right? To keep their institutional identity and continue being institutions, right? But you don't have to subscribe to what the institution is telling you. You, in fact, can break from what your institution is saying and those messages, and I think you should. So if you are pre-tenure, or if you're anywhere on the tenure track and are thinking about promotion, I think that you definitely need to know what your institution wants, and you need to know what they purport to expect from you. But you also need to be really, really clear on what you want and on what you consider a successful career to be. And it's that message that I really want to bring to you tonight. I want you to think about, what are the things in your career that you want to do, and that then you could call your career successful, right? Because those things, the institution can't take them away from you. So one of the things that I think we often buy into this idea, and it's totally understandable, that you're going to get a tenure track job and you're going to hold onto it for dear life, and that is the job that you're going to have for 30 years. And I've always thought, even though I did get my dream job right out of my PhD, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to do that, I didn't ever sit back and say, okay, now I can coast, or now I can do the minimum or whatever, because I always knew that maybe something would happen and I would have to leave. And so that I wanted to have things that that weren't connected to the institution's judgment of how I'm doing, that I could take to other places. So what I'm talking about is, you can have your students go over the moon for you in fantastic, student evaluations. But those things, you don't take those on the market with you. They're true and they make you feel good and whatever, but they don't have currency in the job market the way that publications do, and the way that other types of recognition do. The same with your service work. I mean, when you say, on your CV that you helped create a new undergraduate program in blah, 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 or you helped create a PhD program, those are things that get considered. But they're not the thing probably that's going to get you an interview. Your publications are going to get you an interview. So I want you to think about, what are those things? Where do you want those publications to land? What presses? What journals? And then what other things are important to you as a scholar and in your development that your university may or may not be paying attention to? For example, if you're interested in public scholarship, in what ways are you impacting the groups that you're, doing research on or with or for? Just really, I want you to separate the goals that the culture of academia gives everybody, the milestones that are set up, right? Get the PhD, do a postdoc, get the tenure track job, get tenure, maybe go up for full if you have the energy. And instead, create your own idea of what those milestones should be. And I want you to write them down, and I want you to look at them, and I want you to say, I am more than my institution, and I am worth the time that I put into the development of myself and my career, and my writing especially, right? So that's my message for you tonight. I hope that it resonates with you. If it does, please go ahead and hit me up in the comments, tag me. If you have questions, tag me in the comments, and I hope that you're having a great night.